Hello gardener, welcome to my channel. Sometimes I like to make videos dedicated to a particular plant or crop that just fascinates me, that I love so much I just had to make its own YouTube video. This loofah is one of those crops. I mean, look at it. Have you ever seen a loofah so big? This is a giant cultivar of loofah. It's not the standard dishcloth loofah that I see everyone growing. It's my absolute favorite that I grow every year because the loofah sponge inside is very wide and dense. I like to harvest my own loofah as all natural sponges that I can use when cleaning around my house and to make crafts like exfoliating loofah sponge soap bars. So this one right here, this giant loofah is the best for those applications. Once you grow this one, you're not going to go back to the basic dishcloth variety, okay? So let me show you every step of the way from growing loofah from seed all the way to harvest so you can grow this giant loofah at home in your own gardens. If you're new here, my name is Jara. I've been gardening all of my life and I'm a professional seed and plant nursery. I love to share my knowledge and teach others how to garden and grow food. So you've come to the right place if you want to improve your gardening skills. Before you start growing loofah, it's important to know that there are a few different varieties out there, which by the way, loofah is considered a gourd. The two most common types have these botanical names. This one is the variety that produces the familiar sponges you see in stores, while this one has an angular appearance with angled sides. Both types are actually edible when harvested at around 6 to 7 inches, but the angular one is best for eating purposes, while the smooth types are best for sponges and crafts. And many people have told me that loofah tastes like zucchini. In fact, they say they prefer it over zucchini. And that's when harvested young, not big like this one. Most gardeners go for the smooth kind grown for the sponges. This giant loofah that I grow is the smooth type. It is kind of rare, not many people have seeds for it. So if you would like to grow the same one, you can find seeds on my website. And just so you're aware, loofah seeds can be white or like cream colored or black. I've had people say that I shipped them the wrong seeds because they were expecting the traditional like black loofah seeds, but my giant light green loofah actually has white seeds like this one. So don't be surprised if you get some white loofah seeds. Now that you have your seeds picked out, let's talk about how to sow them. Loofah requires a long, warm growing season. So you'll want to start your seeds indoors about 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. I like to sow them in solo cups or at minimum 4-inch size pots because they grow really fast and get big. You don't want their root systems to get root bound before you're ready to transplant them outside into the garden. Sowing them in bigger sized pots to begin with helps me to avoid wasting time potting up too. Trust me, if you have good seed, they will germinate. Sow the seeds about 1/2 inch deep in a good sterile seed starting mix. Don't go use compost or dirt from your backyard. It's inoculated with lots of pathogens that will attack your seedlings, rot them out, cause dampening off, all sorts of things. If you're struggling with these things, switch to using a sterile seed starting mix. You can easily make your own. I will put my recipe for seed starting mix in the description below. Sow 1 to 2 seeds per pot. Bury them with about 1/2 inch of soil. Okay, so we sowed the seeds. Now we have to place these cups in a warm and humid environment to facilitate germination. Put your containers in a mini greenhouse and zip it shut. You can add some heat mats and containers with water to create humidity. The key is for the soil to be warm and damp, but not waterlogged and rotting. This will help break down the hard seed shell so it can germinate quickly. Another method is to put the cups in a box with some heat mats at the bottom. Put a lid to close it or some aluminum foil or saran wrap. Trap the heat and humidity inside. I get germination in less than 5 days using these methods. If you have problems getting loofah to germinate, try soaking the seeds overnight in warm water to help soften up their hard shell. You can also very gently nick a little hole into the side of the seed shell with some nail clippers to allow water in. Since I'm in Florida, everything is hot and humid here all the time. I don't have issues getting my loofah to sprout. So I don't do this, but it works if you are having problems. Once your loofah seedlings are well established and all danger of frost has passed, it's time to plant them outdoors. This usually happens in the spring or early summer, depending on where you're located. Loofah needs warm soil around 60 degrees Fahrenheit or the plants just won't take off and thrive. Space each plant about 3 feet apart and make sure they have something to climb on. This plant is no joke. Vines easily grow over 25 feet in all directions. Plus these sponges are heavy, so it needs a sturdy trellis. Use a cattle panel trellis, I have one right here, or a T-post and electrical conduit pipe trellis. It also makes a great choice for growing over a fence or porch railings. I have seen people grow these up trees, but that makes harvesting a little bit difficult. This is not a plant that you can prune to maintain size in a small space. It's not a perennial plant, it's a long-lived annual that just grows really fast. In just a few months, it will cover everything. Loofah is a vine and I only recommend that you grow it up something. This not only saves space, but also helps the fruits grow straight and prevents rot from the fruits making contact with the ground. ground. And I keep saying fruits, but they're actually gourds. Let's talk about ideal growing conditions so you pick the best spot to plant loofah in your garden. They need full sun. They can handle even Florida full sun, no problem. They need a long growing season with warm temperatures, ideally above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That is key for loofah plants to mature and produce good sponges. If you want to direct sow the seeds instead, wait until all danger of frost has absolutely passed in spring. Make a little hole to sow your seeds. I like to put 2 seeds per planting hole just to make sure at least one of them germinates. Cover with about a ½ inch of soil and keep this whole area nice and moist to speed up germination. Space your loofah plants about 3 feet apart because they get really big. Loofah is not that picky when it comes to soil and nutrition. It will grow great in straight compost or soil that has a lot of organic matter, but will also grow just fine in Florida native sandy soil. If growing in native soil that doesn't hold on to nutrients, fertilize about once a month with like 1 cup of an organic granular fertilizer to just help it along. My plants are growing in rich composted soil from wood chips and I don't fertilize them at all. Loofah likes a consistent amount of soil moisture. Don't let it sit in areas that are prone to flooding or have bad drainage, or the root system will rot out. I start to plant loofah or direct sow the seeds in March, which is dry season here in Florida, so I have to closely monitor the seedlings and add extra water. However, in just a few months, the vines are mature and are pretty drought tolerant. I don't water them at all during my summer, which is also my rainy season, and it does fine with the amount of natural rainfall that I get. Patience is key with loofah. It takes around 120 to 180 days to fully mature, so it's definitely a long season crop. You'll see beautiful yellow flowers before the fruits or gourds start to develop, which, by the way, bees and butterflies go crazy over these flowers, so if you're not interested in growing loofah for these sponges, consider growing it for the pollinators. I usually start seeing flowers at around 2 to 3 months after direct sowing the seed or transplanting a seedling into the ground. From there, it takes just a few weeks if you want to harvest the loofah to eat. For this purpose, harvest when they are still green and tender, typically when they're about 4 to 6 inches long. If you're growing it for the loofah sponges, it usually takes around 3 to 4 months for it to be ready for harvest. Some people like to harvest them while still green, like this, because it might be easier to peel the skin off while in this green stage. Others, like myself, like to wait until the entire loofah gourd dries out and turns brown. I like to harvest seeds and sell them on my website, so it is necessary for me to allow the seeds to mature as much as possible. Also, in my experience, the easiest way to peel loofah is for them to be 100% dried out and brown, and just dunk it in a 5-gallon bucket with some really hot water. It peels so easy that way. I take out the seeds before I do this though. I have a video showing you how I peel them and that whole process, which I will link below in the description. If you're expecting cold weather, like a frost, it's better to harvest them while still green than just lose the entire loofah. All in all, loofah needs 5 to 6 months in a row of warm temperatures to get to some kind of a harvest point. And don't freak out if you find ants on your loofah flowers. There's a couple right here. I often see lots of ants all over the flowers. I don't know why they like the flowers. They probably have a lot of nectar or something, but don't freak out and do not treat for the ants in this case. They're not harming the loofah at all. They're actually an all-natural pollinator for the loofah flowers. So just leave the ants alone if you see them. How many sponges will one plant produce? It will vary by cultivar, but regardless, you're gonna get a lot. Just a lot. I have 3 vines in this small space. I have harvested 4 completely dried out loofah gourds at this point, and there are countless more still growing and maturing on the vine. I usually start harvesting in July all the way to December when it just finally gets way too cold for them in my garden. The plants slowly die off, so they don't like the cold. Once it gets below around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, they're just not happy anymore. By this point though, I have harvested more than enough loofah gourds than what I know what to do with. It will be like zucchini, you'll just be giving them away. So what can you make with them? The easiest thing is to simply use them all as a natural, eco-friendly, biodegradable cleaning sponges to wash dishes, clean your garden tools, scrub fruits and veggies, or use them as bath sponges for yourself or your pets. We like to make exfoliating loofah sponge soap bars to use for ourselves and to give away as gifts. Kids really love making these too. I have a whole tutorial showing you how we make ours, which I will link in the description. You can fill the bottom of pots or containers with sponges to help with drainage. They can be thrown into your compost pile. You can cut them short, hollow out the center, fill with some soil, and sow seeds, basically acting as a biodegradable cup. If you have any unique uses or craft ideas that use loofah sponges, please comment below. I am always looking for new ideas. Growing loofah from seed to harvest is a rewarding process that not only adds something unique to your garden, but also provides practical, natural products you can use around the house. Whether you're growing for sponges or for food, this plant is a fantastic addition to any garden. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my gardening tutorials. Here is a link to my loofah soap bar tutorial to give you ideas. Happy gardening, and I'll see you in the next video.